hide in my world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am. I am what I am. I don't want praise, I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise, I think it's pretty. And so what? If I love each feather and each spangle, why not try to see things from a different angle? Your life is a sham till you can shout out loud, I am what I am. I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuses. I deal my own deck. Sometimes the ace, sometimes the deuces. There's one life, and there's no return and no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am. We go. Thank you.
And we're live streaming to you from Memorial Park in historic Ocean Grove, New Jersey. We are Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and we're delighted that you can join us for a unique podcast community where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts as seen through the eyes of distinguished artists. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. To see our over 160 past episodes, go check out our website at www.jasontram.net. Again, that's www.jasontram.net. Thank you so much for helping us grow. We recently hit 1,450 subscribers and growing every day. So thank you for watching us and share our videos. It helps the community grow. Also, feel free to chat in questions of our guests. We love it when our audience joins the conversation. It makes it so much more exciting. Here on Music Matters, we go from the most distinguished classical artists to musical theater to indie pop to rock to rap. We really cross the genre lines to look at innovation in the arts, and we're delighted that you can be here with us. We have a wonderful guest today. We have Peter Kendall Clark, who otherwise known as the Brownstone Baritone, a distinguished opera and musical theater singer with a wonderful career all over the United States, and productions and performances highly acclaimed in the New York Times and in many of their major publications. He was very busy in his career until COVID shut everything down, like it did for all of us in the arts. And since May of 2020, he's given over 200 outdoor concerts in Brooklyn Heights and in his weekly community concert series called Songs from the Ledge, which the New York Post has called the hottest ticket in town. Deborah Norville of CBS Inside Edition called him the Brownstone Baritone, and that sobriquet has stuck. He's been acclaimed by many news outlets, and his career has grown in new and unique ways. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Such a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. Glad we can make this work.
I'm so glad it took a while.
So where are you these days?
I'm still in New York, but I am up on the weekends. I'm up where my mom lives in New Rochelle, and as you said, I've now passed the 200 mark. But I started doing the concerts up where she lives as well, which is a really nice little gated community, and there's a beautiful circle right in the middle where it's just ended up being like the perfect little garden of, afternoon music making. And we call that, there's 2 circles here, and they called it, they said, this should be songs from the lower circle. I said, sounds like something out of Dante.
It does, yeah. That sounds a little more, a little daunting than
But the lower circle, I mean, I started at the end of last summer, and with both series, it's been a real community builder. And, in a period of time where we were really in the lockdown and people were staying in and afraid to go out, starting to do music on the street in the fresh air, it gave people an excuse to come out of their houses and a reason to congregate and to build community. And it's something that I absolutely didn't plan, and it wasn't my intention. I didn't have any heroic aims when I did it. But as soon as I started doing it, I saw the value of it, and not just for my audiences, but for me, because I was really, cut off from not just my livelihood, but what my passion is, and what, we're stage animals. We want to be up there. And
whenever the stage is taken away from us, our creative energies just go in different directions, right? It's like it's going to come out one way or the other, and it's just how that's going to happen. And congratulations on finding such a great way to do that really touch people's lives. And it's incredible you got the exposure, and it's great that people recognize that, because it's beautiful. People, what's a better way than to have art when things are the hardest?
It's the best. It's the most important thing that we can do, I think. And, I was at this, I had this same realization shortly after 9/11, where we were really just questioning our lives. What are we doing? What's important? And I was out on tour with a production of La Boheme with a terrific cast. It was Kelly Caduce and Lee Gregory. I mean, Kelly Caduce before she was Kelly Caduce. And it was like a pretty low budget thing, but we were traveling around and we did some outreach, and we were playing up in Buffalo and Rochester, these huge theaters. And I remember I was Chenard, and I remember looking at the audience of 3,000 people, and people just devastated. Of course, it's Bohème, and if it's a good Bohème, people are going to be devastated. But it just hit home with me, like, oh, this is why we do what we do, because people actually need it. They actually need to feel this. And of course, I know that. I mean, I go to the opera as much as I can. I mean, I'm just in love with the human voice. To me, a great night at the Met, there's just nothing like it. And, having been in the business for a long time, and, I'll go a lot to, hear friends at the Met, or someone's jumping in and, making their debut. It's the most exciting to me. To me, it's like, that's my sport. This is my sport.
Contact sport for sure. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, this is so, yeah, when everything was shut down, I had one rehearsal for a new opera. Well, it was going to be the New York premiere of The Parting by Tom Chiapullo. It had already had its world premiere, and it was a really difficult role. I mean, I'd spent probably 8 months learning it. I had done Gloria Denied twice. I love Tom Chiapullo. I love his music, and he writes really hard. I mean, just incredible stories, but stuff that you really have to live with it. And we had one sing through, and then the production was shut down. And honestly, part of me was a little relieved, because it was such a hard show. It was like, well, now I don't have to do it. Like I wasn't sure I was completely memorized. But my immediate thought was, because everyone is going through the same thing, and I thought, I don't want to join the pity party of, oh, I lost this, I lost this. Like, well, everybody lost everything. But I really, my real thought was, well, at least I had something to lose, because it had taken me so many years to get a foot in the door, and years of study and devotion, and years of thinking I was a tenor, and then discovering the reason you don't have good high notes is because you're not a tenor, and then starting over as a baritone. And it's been a lifelong dream of mine to make it as an opera singer, or even just to be able to participate on a professional level. So I just thought, well, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe that was it. maybe that's all I got, but I really felt like, well, at least I had something, and I got to do some really good work, and we'll just have to see what happens. Like, I hope that I'm still viable as a performer when things come back. So, but what I actually did was I started practicing stretch operatic repertoire, because I do mostly contemporary opera and a lot of musical theater. But, in my heart of hearts, it's like, I really want to do a Traviata. I'd love to try to sing the title role of Macbeth. And so I started going to the school where I teach at St. Anne's. And it's another reason I was going there, is because everyone's working at home. So the last thing you want to hear is some baritone trying to become a Verdi baritone, right? So I was going to my classroom and practicing, and sort of like, well, I want to be ready when it comes back. But in the evening, all I wanted to do was, eat pizza and watch Jeopardy. Like, I was not in the mood to. I really got into nesting and just, chilling out. And I have a neighbor, Marcy Chapin. She's a wonderful woman. She just became a grandmother. She's kind of the social director of the building. She organized the pumpkin carving party or the Christmas party, and so she and some.
We all need those people, don't we?
Yeah, we did. Well, so she and some friends were leading the applause for the frontline healthcare workers at 7:00. She kept saying, "Peter, you should come out. You should sing." Because they'd have a little speaker out there, and they'd be singing some songs. And I was like, Marcy, this is literally the last thing I feel like doing at 7:00. Like, and honestly, I think I had some PTSD from having a neighbor who was so complaining about every time, not even singing, just like if I dropped the remote control, he's banging on the ceiling. So I didn't really feel comfortable in my building. And I felt always a little apologetic about being, the singer. And finally, one night, it was May 1st, and it was a Friday afternoon. I'd finished my teaching week, and I'll never forget it, because it had been kind of a rainy day, and the last period of the day was my middle school singers, and they really wanted to sing songs from Annie. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's just sing Annie. And we're singing tomorrow. I mean, we're going for it. And the sun came out, and I was like, so I went down to the park, and I had a beautiful afternoon. Went to some friends I hadn't seen in a while, and was coming back with a pizza from Juliana's. And Marcy's in front of the building. Peter, you going to sing tonight? And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I got my speaker and just started to sing Votre Toast on the street. And there was such a liberating feeling about it, first of all, because it's like, I would never do that. I'm not like a busking person, like in the subway. I'm like, no. I did it, and it was so loud. I mean, it's a rather narrow street, and the sound was incredible. And suddenly people are opening their windows and stopping. And my one neighbor, I'm not sure I can say this on your podcast. We're going to try it.
Yes, you can. Say it if you want.
Dog, and the dog's looking at me like this. And I looked down, and I'm like, the dog is giving me like his highest compliment, which is his dog boner. And I'm like, I don't know if I've ever gotten that reaction before.
High praise indeed.
So I just did it, and then another neighbor heard me singing, and she was like, I missed it, sing something else. And I think I sang The Impossible Dream. And I don't know if you remember at this time, but Brian Stokes Mitchell was coming out on his balcony and singing Impossible Dream. He'd survived COVID, and I think he won the Tony Award for Man of La Mancha, but the crowds were getting so big that the police had to shut it down. So singing Impossible Dream is always, it's always powerful. I love that song, but it was so symbolic. And my neighbor, Liz, she told me later that she'd just gotten terrible news about, her really good friend's husband they were both in the ICU, and they were both in comas, and the husband died and the wife didn't know it yet. And she just was like, she kept saying, I needed this. And it just hit me right then. It was like, well, if you need this, I can do this. Like, this is what I do. I can sing. I can do this whenever you want. So the next night, I thought, I think I'm just going to get up on the wall. There's a little wall in front of the garden. And I was pretty casual about it too. I was like, oh, that was fun. I think I did a Facebook posting about it. And people were like, that's amazing. And a former student of mine from St. Anne's, who's a really, really incredibly talented triple threat, she was like, can I come sing with you? I was like, yeah, come sing. And we just got up on the wall, and she made a poster about social distancing. And I had a red measuring tape, 6 foot, like to remind people this is 6 feet. And this show just sprung to life. I mean, there were like 100 people there, people going nuts. And we would dovetail the ending with the applause. So you'd be like, happy days are here again. And it's 7 o'clock and everyone's going crazy. So it was just the most joyous thing. And it was like, well, let's just keep doing it. So I did it for 100 nights in a row. And
Amazing.
just, you know, I said to a friend, well, what else was I going to do? She said, well, there's not a lot of people who would think, what else am I going to do but like do a new show every night for 100 nights in a row? But it struck me that I was supposed to have opened in a new production of Little Night Music, which is one of my favorite shows. I mean, I've never done an 8-show week.
Nothing like Sondheim. Oh.
I love it. And it's the one show that I thought, if this was my job to come to the theater every night with these people and do this show, you don't have to ask me twice. And I just thought, well, you know, this is what I've always wanted to do, was to just be up all the time singing. And at first we were very casual about it. And my friend Jessica Fischenfeld, who we'd been in Stonewall, she was one of the stars of Stonewall at New York City Opera. And we just sang together last night. I
saw you in that, by the way. What an incredible production. I had friends in that as well, and such an important and timely. And that was like that summer. That was all I saw on social media for that month. I was so excited to see City Opera return with something so timely.
It was amazing. I mean, I could talk about that for the whole rest of the show, but you know, just to be part of it all. I mean, I was a cop, and I mean, I remember thinking, it was like, I've been waiting 50 years for Stonewall, and like now I'm one of the cops. And they're like, well, you're too old. You're too old to be one of the kids. But the director, he said, but the cops, that's the most important part of the story. It's like, without the cops, like that wouldn't have happened. And that experience, I'll just say a little bit about that. It ultimately was one of the most powerful theater pieces I was ever in. This huge cast, the absolute top people in the business involved, you know, with the lighting. It was like Ken Billinghurst. I mean, everybody was like from Broadway or forever. I mean, it was done at such a high level. The cast was amazing. And then the staging of the riot, it was, you know, we took so much time to do it. And it really was building trust with a lot of people that you don't know, and of all different ages and backgrounds. And we had to just become like its big family to be able to reenact this. And I thought, it's kind of like people who are into battle reenactments. Like, let's put on the costumes and relive it. And every night, I don't know if you remember the button, but it's like there was a big police line all across the stage with our backs to the audiences, and all the kids like pushing us. And it kind of like, I don't know, it was sort of like the end of the Tonight Quintet. It was like, bah, 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 bah. It was this incredible button. And the audience would go nuts, and we would just burst into tears because it was so emotional and so beautiful. And I hope I'm doing a lot of wonderful theater in the future, but I mean, things like that, I just think I got to experience that. And, you know, that's why we're drawn to this. You know, and
those mountaintops that we kind of aspire towards for our career. You'll never forget those mountaintop performances, right?
Never. And last night, I mean, it was I think.
So tell us what it was like to do a live performance again in front of a New York City audience with colleagues that you treasure. What was it? What was the feeling as you took the stage last night? This is the New York City Opera Pride concert?
Pride in the Park.
Pride in the Park.
Pride in the Park concert, which I've been involved in. So New York City Opera started this initiative to produce an opera during Pride Month that had an LGBTQ plus theme. And I happened to have been in all of them. I was in, I think the first one was Angels in America, and the second one was Brokeback Mountain, and the third one was Stonewall. And that was the one that was the commission. And it's just it's become, I don't know. It means, obviously means a lot to me as a gay person, but it's something that it felt always vital, like City Opera has been trying to reinvent itself because, the People's Opera of 75 years ago, the people in the city are different, right?
Good
So
point.
your initiative to do Spanish language pieces or, LGBTQ plus themes, yeah, it's been really incredible to be part of that and to be part of that family. So, and the first opera I ever saw was Carmen at New York City Opera. I mean, I grew up. I mean, I read it's Heidi Whaleson's book about the New York City Opera. I mean, it's like I was
Stratford institution. I grew up seeing them too, and it's where so many of the best singers in America got their start. It's so important in American tradition. It's great to see it come back again. I'm really excited to. I think those shows are wonderful. All three of them have been incredibly successful, and it's amazing that you've been a part of all of them. That's incredible.
It's been amazing. Well, the Pride concert last night. I mean, I feel a little bit of special pride because Kristen she asked me to help her put it together, and I just love that. I mean, I love being sort of on the production side, and I was like, oh, I could do this, or I could give her a long list of things that I'd want to sing in a Pride concert, and then started talking about other singers to get, and anyway, we ended up with this fantastic group, and they were going to end with the Stonewall Quartet. So it was important to have the Stonewall people in that, but also my friend Lauren Hoffmeyer, who she had sung. We had met doing Most Happy Fellow together at Di Capo Opera in 2012, which was a production that Michael Capasso directed, and it just ended up having this really unexpectedly great reception because it was at Di Capo, at that small theater, but with a incredible cast.
Baptiste in that back of that church, an incredible location.
It was unamplified,
wow,
and with full orchestra. And the New York Times went nuts over it because you just don't ever get this experience. And you got Michael Corvino singing his face off every night, and it was just a fantastic group of people. I mean, some of my best friends I've met doing that production, and we ended up extending it and then doing an open-ended summer run of it. So Lauren she was the Cleo, and she got the reviews. I mean, it was like, this is the next Ethel Merman. She's the next Patti LuPone. And, she came really close to some good stuff. And it just didn't happen. It's like the luck has to be with you. It's not just the talent and the reviews. It's like something else has to happen. And she had turned away from performing and has a really successful life as a yoga instructor. And she's she writes children's books. She has a 10-book deal. It's called Mula and the Fly. I'm doing a plug for her, but it's yoga for children. And the first book just came out, and she happened to move to my neighborhood, and she was like, "Oh, let's get a coffee sometime." And so we got together that very day, and I asked her if she wanted to come sing with me, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know, I haven't been singing." And I was like, "We should do something. We should sing Class from Chicago. That would be, because we were going to do a Candor and Ebb show." And so I pull up the karaoke, and I could just hear her doing it. I mean, she has a unique, incredible belt voice, like kind of a once in a lifetime, I think. And her first one, she's like, "Now every son of a bitch is a snake in the grass," and I literally fell off her couch. I was like, "How are you not singing? Like, you have to do it." And so that was just a couple of months ago, and she started joining me almost every week. And right when she joined me, we started to have this resurgence of interest from news organizations. Because at the beginning, we'd gotten a lot of pieces done about us, and like I kind of jumped ahead of the story. Like with Jessica, we'd been in Stonewall together, and she lived down the street from me. And in the first month of the series, she sang with me 12 times. But the way we put it together, she'd be like, "I got to go to Key Food. Why don't you meet me there? We'll put together a set." We were super casual about it. Or like, "Let's meet on the promenade and just, I don't know. The concert's at 6:30. Let's meet at 6 and just figure out what we're going to do." So one night, she was running a little late. And we're coming around the corner to Hicks Street, and we see the ABC news van. And we're like,
Oh boy.
Shoot, we better. And we'll walk up, and they were like, "Can we mic you up?" I'm like, "Here we go. It's showbiz." So we'd gotten a bunch of stuff about the show back then, and then it had been pretty quiet over the winter, and then suddenly it came back. And so Lauren and another neighbor of mine, Sarah, another incredible singer who had, long since left show business, had started to come to sing with me. And I was like, "Girls, you better get your herd did, because because we started to get weekly news attention, like New York One's coming, CBS Inside Edition is coming," and they're like, "You didn't tell us WQXR is coming." I'm like, "Sorry, someone's coming. All right, just be ready."
Spontaneous. Everyone finds out about it. There's no performances, or almost no performances, especially live performances. So you were filling a niche that no one else was filling. Just just something, your passion took you towards that, and who knew that all this attention would come from. It's amazing.
It's just been amazing. And I mean, I gotta say, both these girls are like, "Let's rehearse." And so suddenly it was like, we're rehearsing for this now. And and Lauren and I mean, we have a great rapport. Probably the most performances I did of anything was not Most Happy Fellow. So I'd heard her slay that role night after night after night. And here it is, almost 10 years later. And it was just so great to be singing with her. And I would just say, "Listen, you should sing I Love a Piano. You should sing Maybe This Time." And I mean, it's not hard to choose repertoire for her, because you just think, well, sing Don't Rain in My Parade. And she would show up every week with like 2 11 o'clock numbers, and she'd be off book. And I say about both of these women, they would perform with this intensity like it was the final callback for the last show ever going to be produced on the planet. And Sarah would be like, "In a great big Broadway show," and she'd like stick the landing as if like there was like a big Beyonce like light chains, like shh. And it's so infectious. I mean, you're just like, "Oh my God," where it's like,
I bet the audience went crazy every night.
So Lauren came and sang with City Opera. She hadn't been done any professional, she hadn't done any professional singing in all this time. And she sang from Sunset Boulevard, As If We Never Said Goodbye. Killed it. And then sang Meadowlark. And I remember when she'd said, like, "Oh, I could sing Meadowlark," I was like, "Is it a good Meadowlark? Because if you're going to sing Meadowlark, it better be good, because that's a long song." And her Meadowlark, I've never heard anything like it. I mean, and even the tech guys were a little bit like, not, they're not that impressed. They were like, "Oh, it's pretty good."
And if the tech people are paying attention, it's going to be something special.
Stop and look. Yeah. So anyway, I have to say, all of that makes me so happy. Like, Kristen and I had our arms around each other, sobbing while she's singing Meadowlark last night. But it's like, when you've been in the business a long time, you start to have these sort of, I don't know, it's like paternal feelings. Like, it's so nice to be able to help other people come along and to mentor. I mean, I'm a teacher, it's like, I love helping people get over their fear, get up and, shine their light.
It's nothing more exciting than, I'm a teacher as well. I teach at a university, and I've been a teacher at a high school before that for 6 years. So I know what you're talking about. To watch people achieve and to watch them grow as artists, that's just as exciting as getting to the stage and taking the stage. It's just as exciting.
Absolutely is. And in the course of the year, I mean, I've had a number of my high school students get up and perform, which was incredible, because they have, the kids who graduated last year, like they missed their whole year. They didn't get to do their senior musical. They didn't get to, none of the stuff. And so it meant so much to them. And then I think I probably had over 30 other artists come and sing with me, and friends of friends. And, a friend of Jessica, this guy, Nate, who he's like a Broadway baritone. I mean, he literally walked 3 hours, or 2.5 hours from Bushwick just to come sing with me. And then after he'd been singing with me, Nate Morgan, a couple times, he said, "Were you in this weird opera off Broadway?" And I'm like, "Were you the little kid in Dora the Opera?" Which was his first professional thing. And I was like, "Yeah, he was the little kid." I'm like, "Hi, good to see you." I mean, we're literally doing like a gay pride concert together. And then it's like the penny didn't drop right away, because I think he's, you know, when you're that long, you think those people must be dead. Like, that was so long ago. And yeah, and then he was in Bohème on Broadway. He was in the Baz Luhrmann. Anyway,
Wow.
it's been amazing like that, with just the connections to make with people. And, you know, prior to the pandemic, if I had put together a cabaret and rented whatever, the Triad, I mean, I couldn't have gotten 30 people to come, because there's so much going on. You know, there's just
Tough to break through all that noise. There's a million performances, 20 Broadway shows, the Met, you know, every night of the week, and all of a sudden that stops, and yeah, and all of a sudden you've created something that everyone's watching.
Yep, last man standing. It's all changed. Like, I'm about to recede again, because it's all coming back. No, but honestly, I'm going to tell you, we were talking before this started, but there's two questions that I think is important to ask yourself as a performer, which is, the first one is like, why are you doing this? Why do you want to sing? And, you know, we who do this, it's like we have a healthy dose of narcissism, right? It's like, my favorite thing is everyone shuts up and listens to me sing. And I think you really have to have that in the first place. And if you don't, it's like, I don't know. I just think that's part of it. Like, you love what you do so much, and you want to be able to share it. And it's not just loving the sound of your voice. It's like, I love this song so much. I love what this. I want people to feel what I feel with this poem or whatever it is. I saw Thomas Allen do a master class at Weill a couple years ago, and he was asking the soprano something about the poem, and it was obviously, she hadn't thought about it that much. I mean, she could sing, it was a Strauss song, she could sing the Jesus out of it, but she hadn't really thought about it. And he was like, "My dear, do you ever spend time reading poetry?" I thought she was like, "Not really." And he was like, "My dear, do you not understand? These words really need to mean something to you. There's not just, I'm doing it because I can sing it well." And in this period of time, you know, it's like, well, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this world premiere? It's like, I don't know, because I want to have a career, because I got the job, because I want to get something else. Oh, because I want to, but it's not purely because I love it. And in these circumstances, like, I'm going to sing because I love to sing. And these people, it's my subscription audience. It's like, they need it. And I can't sing the same things every night. So it really opened the door to branching out, just singing things I love, and taking myself out of my baritone box, you know, my mature leading man, whatever.
Sure, the COVID pandemic has changed the box for everyone, right? There was no box. The box was disappeared, and now we're all like,
totally gone.
I like to say, we've all become philosophers during the COVID period, because we've had so much more time to think and be with ourselves and our thoughts. It's amazing.
It's incredible. And so, you know, suddenly singing I mean, I've taught voice to teenage girls for so many years, and I mean, there's so much repertoire that I love that's not necessarily in my box, but I started thinking, like, I don't know, I got accompanist now, I'll just put it down a step and do it in my key. And I did one concert I was really proud of last summer where, you know, my mother's remarried at 89, she's 90 now.
God bless her.
Yeah, she and I'm in their house, but it's Peter is my godfather. They went to high school together. My father and my mom, and Peter and my dad went to Yale together. And after my dad died actually 22 years ago today. That's my June 19th has that for me. He died the day before Father's Day in 1999. And when Peter's third wife passed away, he and my mom started traveling together, and they decided to get married. And it's been such a wonderful kind of, you know, further chapter of their lives. And you know, having a stepfather now after, you know, 20 years of not having a father has been really kind of amazing. So anyway, I think I lost my track of thought for a second.
You know, that humanity is so beautiful. And, you know, it's funny. It's like,
my mom was a widow, and I thought so many of my people in my audience are widows, and thought, I'm going to sing all these songs sung by widows in musicals. So I sang, from Mame and Hello Dolly and Carousel, and I just love doing it so much because it's like it doesn't have to be my story for me to feel it. And the whole idea of like backwards Broadway, it's like I'm not going to get up and be like, you could drive the person, like I'm not going to do it in a kind of winky way. I'm just going to sing it as myself. And I have just loved that. I have loved that more than anything. And then the second question is, it's not just why do you want to sing? It's what do you feel like singing right now? And having that freedom to be like, it's 3:00 and I know I'm going on stage in 3 hours, but I think I'm going to sing the Vase and Dunk songs because I love them and I've never sung them.
You are the music director. Isn't that nice?
I think I'm going to sing the songs of travel because I've never sung them. And I mean, it's like we suddenly have this time and we can actually do something with it. And to have an audience that's so happy to listen to anything you do. And I have a friend who's David Senny. I taught his daughter, and he's also a music junkie. I mean, he would go to the Met 5 times a week and then go to a jazz show and film it. I mean, he's obsessed with live performance. So he started coming to my shows and videoing them. And to have the opportunity to kind of share what you do with someone who's also as excited about the music as you are, it's been amazing.
What's been like watching, of course you have your live audience in front of you, and what was it like to grow it, also watch it have its own life on social media as well?
It's been weird. I mean, I'm happy that people like it, and I'm always surprised when people tell me that like they're sharing these videos with people in Europe but it doesn't surprise me because I think it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing that we're doing here with this community, and I love that people take a lot of hope from it because, I don't think I ever would have done this. I don't think I ever would have thought to do it because I was very much thinking professionally minded, just what's going to get me to the next thing. But I actually think this is my next thing.
Isn't that amazing how sometimes we call this finding your yellow brick road? And you've been in this business for a long time, doing great work at a high level, and all of a sudden everything changes and a new road appears. Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible.
So what might that look like as we go back to live performance? I know you were involved in some really good live performances, most notably Ricky Ian Gordon's The Garden of the Finzi Continus. They opened that up recently, and you did the preview of that. So things like that. So the workshop, right? And that was highly acclaimed. What's it like, to get back into live performing again? And then how are you going to merge those two parallel careers?
Well, I mean, people I know who didn't leave the business, because a lot of people I know left the business. I mean, they were just like, can't do this anymore. So if I look, I look on Instagram, on Facebook, our friends are starting to do their first productions again, and everyone's having this incredible experience of what it's like to be doing it again for the first time. And I think I actually never stopped. You've
been doing more concerts than ever. 200 performances.
Than ever. I mean, I never performed this much seriously, even in a good year with some decent contracts, you do a regional opera contract, maybe it's 2 performances. I mean, it's like maybe you're on stage 20 nights a year, maybe. So to be up there every night, it taught me something that I don't think I ever could have learned in grad school if I'd gone to grad school. It's just figuring out how to connect with an audience. And it's something that you don't really have time in an opera life you don't have the luxury of that. It's sort of about getting it right and, executing it correctly. You don't really you rarely have time in opera to grow with something because it's over before, just when it starts to come together and then it's over. This is the workshop with it's a co-production with the Folksbiene, the National Yiddish Theater, and the New York City Opera. And I was involved. I sang Eric in Dear Eric, which was produced there in 2019. So Kristen asked me if I could do the workshop of Finzi Continis. And
shout out to Kristen Sampson, who's been on the show and a dear friend and a wonderful artist as well. So give her a shout out.
I mean, we were weeping in each other's arms last night in Bryant Park. Yeah, she's an incredible human being. incredible artist, and incredible supporter of me, I have to say. Because she was like running house at Da Capo when we were doing Most Happy Fella. She was like, I saw every performance of Most Happy Fella. So to have a colleague who's a friend, who's really, supporting you and kind of rooting for you, that's invaluable. I mean, she's my angel. But she asked me if I could do the workshop. And I was like, Kristen, I literally have one gig in this whole year, and it overlaps with the workshop by one day. And at first,
no.
like Maestro's not okay with any absences. And I was like, like, because that literally always happens. Like, you have nothing, and then you get two things in the same time. So I was going to do my Brownstone Baritone show in St. Louis for Winter Opera St. Louis. And I was going to not get back till Sunday afternoon, but it started in the morning. Anyway, Ricky, who I knew through friends, like for 35 years, he actually, I guess he looked at my YouTube video of singing Impossible Dream. I mean, he doesn't know me as a singer really at all. And he was like, I want Peter.
Wow. That's
amazing. And I was like, so we did the workshop, and, it was at the theater where we performed Dear Eric down at the Museum of Jewish Heritage. It was just unbelievable feeling of walking into the room and seeing those people, Maestro James Lau, who, like, we go way back together. I mean, it's like we were at Ashlon together, back in the day. And now he's fancy and Broadway, Chicago Lyric, works all the time. And we'd never worked together. So it was a kind of full circle for me of like, I'm finally actually getting to work with these people that I've known for so long. And oh my God, the singers in this were incredible. The music is so beautiful. Ricky took 10 years to write this. And I had seen the movie a long time ago, but I rewatched it. It's such an incredible story. And it meant so much to him. It was so cool to hear him and Michael Corey talk about how, they were like, this is our next thing that we're going to do together after they'd written Grapes of Wrath. And I just thought, I really want to be in this. I really want to be in this show. So it looks like I might be. I'm not going to say anything.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We'll put it out there in the ether.
But it's like when you get to come together with your friends and I always say to people, like, I often have the experience of meeting a new friend that's like a soprano in her 20s who's like the funniest person you ever met and also the most talented person. I was like, I feel like I have quite a few friends like this, but that's what happened. It's like if you got cast in the show, you were pretty good. So I don't know. It feels very privileged, and people say it's an honor and it's a privilege, but I really, really feel that because not that many people get to do it. Even I don't even feel like I had such a fancy career, but it's like everything I've gotten to do my whole life, because it came late, I just thought, I'm so lucky I'm getting to do this at all. Do you know Vicky Livengood?
Sure.
So we did Candide together in Anchorage. And Anchorage, I think, it's like a lot of companies, they've fallen on hard times. The budget isn't what it was, and things start to just become a little jankier. And she's like doing her first old lady, and she's definitely like, darling. It's like, because she's used to a higher level. And she said, not even at Ashlon Opera have I ever. And I just said, Miss Vicky, your valleys have been my peaks. And I was like, I literally had to audition for Anchorage Opera for 10 years before I got hired. But I've always just felt very, it's like I wanted it since I was a little kid, and it took a long time for it to happen. I was probably in my 40s before I started getting like pretty good work. And I'm knocking on wood that it's like, well, I've kept it up. I'm probably in better voice now than I ever was, just because I've had this luxury of being able to just sing constantly, sing what I want, sing in the keys that I want. I have not programmed a lot of operatic repertoire in these concerts either, because you sing some Verdi, you can't do it every day.
No, you either have that rest period to recover and Get some voice back again. Yeah, I tell my undergraduates that the music career is not, I tell a lot of people, music career is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And not everyone has the same trajectory. Some, coloraturos are born singing out of the womb, right? They're like singing high E's and all that stuff. Other voices take more time and the path is different. But, you work hard, you apply yourself, and
I've had a long, windy path. It's funny, Jessica sang Glitter and Be Gay last night. And of course, she says like, all right, if I'm going to sing Glitter, I got to be working on that for a couple of weeks to get that up. And she sent me a video of her singing it when she's 18 years old. And I said, listen, I mean this in the best way. You don't sing it that much better now. Like, she was so good. It was like
amazing.
It's crazy. And I don't know, I almost feel like it's maybe in the last couple of years of my life have I started to sing things in a way that I think that's good. Like it's pretty good.
That self-criticism, that hard work, and that diligence that you bring to your work, it pays off. And I'm just fascinated by social media and the effect on the arts. I'm like, what if Callus had social media? What if we had? I've had this conversation with lots of people on the air. And what if Herbert von Karajan was on Twitter? How would it change the things we think of the mystique around these people? And if we knew more about them as people, I think it's just fascinating. But it gives us a chance to connect directly with our audience. Like Ricky and Gordon saw you perform, and he said, "That's the person I want," because he heard you sing and saw you do what you do. You didn't have to go through an agent and an audition and the process that existed forever. I had a guest on today who was just fascinating. He's an actor, a classically trained actor, and went to the neighborhood playhouse. And he has a Twitter he has an Instagram and YouTube following of almost 2 million people. He's built his platform, and now companies or he's getting a series, and people find him on this. They know him through this, and now the producers are starting to say, "Hey, this guy brings an audience." It's just fascinating. Amazing. It's changing our entire industry around us, and we're all seeing it in real time.
I know, and because the industry has gone in that direction, I think if you're not part of it, personally, if I wasn't trying to have a performing life, I'm not sure that I would participate in these things anymore. It's like, I honestly, I'm using it as like free advertising. I actually I just had a friend from high school, a really good friend I hadn't seen since high school. And, there are meaningful friendships that I think it's nice that I have a little connection with him that way, but mostly it's, to the ability to share what you do so instantaneously, it's incredible. It's so valuable. And, young performers who really know how to manipulate the media and to self-produce. Jessica is an incredible example of that. She's really savvy with the tech and the production, and she actually helped me with my website a lot. And remember, I was like, what do you think if I had a little scrolling thing? And she would, this was the litmus test. She would say, would Renee Fleming have that? Would Renee do that?
So the young generation that grew up with this, they know this. This is their kind of center.
Yeah. I know.
I went into all this. I went into all this because I have a 21-year-old son. I have twin 18-year-old daughters, and I have a 16-year-old son. And I'm like, if they're not going to like my content, I'm not going to like my content. So I wanted to put it out there because I had YouTube like everybody else in the industry had YouTube. It connected to my website so people could see my conducting, so I can get hired for gigs, right? So jobs, and when I'm up for jobs. But now I use it as a platform, and like we've doubled. I went from having 200 subscribers to having 1,000, almost 1,500 subscribers. It changes very quickly, and that's we're just going to continue to grow that way. And you can go crazy with the analytics. I had almost all of my audience was 65 plus. Not surprising because the demo skews higher in classical music, right? And so now my audience skews from 25 all the way to 65 plus, which I started interviewing rock bands. I started looking at indie artists. I started looking at Broadway artists because I'm just fascinated. I learned something with everyone like yourself who comes on here and shares, artistic innovation challenges is fascinating to me and how people cope with these challenges. And it's amazing to see what you've done.
It's really cool. everyone's been doing it. I I don't feel like I'm the only person who's gotten up and performed. I might be the only person who got up and did it like as much as I did it. But that's just been, it was sort of like, well, why not? Let's see how long it can go. See what you got.
Well, it's been fun to learn about your music, and I certainly knew you through your work over the years. And we have so many mutual friends. It's so crazy when you type in. I'm like, oh my God, we have like 100 mutual friends.
I know. It's a really small world.
Very small degree of separation in the opera and the classical music world, for sure.
For sure.
So, how can people find out more about you? How can they see some of these performances? Where can you send them to find out more about the Brownstone Baritone?
Okay, so Jessica helped me. Well, she basically built this website. She didn't help me. She built this. It's called songsfromtheledge.com. And that is the receptacle of, that's if you want to, well, the most important thing is if you want to see the performance schedule, which is basically Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. at College Place. And if you don't know Brooklyn Heights, it's College Place is off of Love Lane. It's a secret muse. It actually goes right behind the house the apartment where I live. It's a magical little quiet area. But the great thing about that is there's no traffic. It's like super quiet. So you can do, except there's drones overhead. I mean, there's like helicopters. I'm like, really? I'm singing Schubert. Could you not? But
Schubert never had these problems.
He really didn't. So songsfromtheledge.com. That's where I put up all the links for the media interviews. And I mean, we'll put this one up there. That will be at the top. And
appreciated.
I have started a YouTube channel called Brownstone Baritone, so that's just the videos from these performances. And there are hundreds. And I'm little by little starting to release some of them. I mean, I don't want to, glut the internet with them, but it's really been really interesting to me because at first, I mean, the thing I noticed the most was because they were shot largely in profile. I was like, wow, I gained a lot of weight. And it was like, if I'd known I was going to be so famous, I wouldn't have eaten that much. Like when I came out,
we all call it the COVID-19, right?
Oh my God. I invented a diet. It's called the 30-30. You can gain 30 pounds in 30 days. Because it's like, I would see like, all I see is this, like, right. That's all I can see. So, yeah, when the New York Post came, I just decided to put on my tuxedo or my tails. Like, why not? Oh, because we were doing this Gander Neb show. I said, let's dress like we're in the Broadway production of Chicago. And so, I mean, everything was super tight.
I have a Beethoven 5 at the end of this month, and I have a Parks concert in Long Island. I'm like, I better give that tux a look there.
It was like, I looked at it on TV. I said, I'll tell you, there's nothing like seeing yourself on TV to give a little inspiration to, maybe lay off the pizzas.
In the gym and yeah.
Like, when you look at it, I said, it looks like I forgot to take my fencing suit off before I put on my tuxedo. So I've lost a little weight. I bought a new tuxedo. But yeah, Brownstone Baritone, there's lots of videos. You can subscribe to that and like them. And
I just subscribe, so everyone should go out there right away, smash that subscribe button
and
on
like
the Brownstone
it.
Baritone.
And yeah, I'm putting up a lot of stuff all the time, and I'm putting together my Brownstone Baritone solo show, which I'm actually going to try. I have two wonderful pianists that I'm starting to work with. One is Tim Splaine, he's a big Broadway keyboard player, and the other one is Matt Pod of the Pod Brothers, identical twins. Amazing musicians, and I'm just starting to work with both of them to put a live show on its feet. And I'm doing my first one in New York this week at the Watermark in Brooklyn, which is an exclusive retirement facility.
Gotta put it out there and put it in front of an audience and work out the kinks and bring it up to
I just get to work a room with a live pianist. That's the main thing for me. So that's what I'm doing now, and hopefully I'll be in the Finzi Contini show in January, and we'll see what happens.
Well, continued success and all the great work you're doing. These things, you put good work out there, it comes back to you. I'm a firm believer in karma, and I think you've done all the best work in bringing art to people, right to people, in a time when there was no live art. We had a lot of Zoom performances and stream performances, but the actual live human voice, I'm sure it moved people in ways that you're not even going to know until later on.
Every time somebody's there for the first time, and whatever music it is you're singing, it reflects my taste in music. I am a golden age Broadway person. I'm an art song person. I'm an opera person. But when the night I decided to do all Wagner, this woman came up to me and said, "When my husband died, the Abendstern aria, that's what we had played." And I can't tell you how many times it happens. Like that was our wedding song, or a woman saying, "I wish I could remember our wedding song." But music, people have such specific, important memories through music, and it's not just Nessun Dorma and Ave Maria. It's like lots of songs, and that's also been really fun to take requests. Like I want to sing music that people want to hear, that means something to them. So I never had that spontaneity in my professional life. And it's something that people say, what would you do differently as stuff comes back? I was like, well, I would try to maintain a bit of spontaneity. I don't know. It was right before COVID. I went to Carnegie Hall to hear Yuzha Wang do a recital. Mm-hmm. And she had a program, but she announced the voiceover. She said, "I would like to reserve the freedom to perform the program in the order that I feel." So it was, a whole range from Baroque to contemporary music. But and I'm a nerd, and like I'm sitting there, and people are like, "What was that?" I'm like, that wasn't the Messiah. I'm like, whatever. Like obviously that was Debussy. Like, but I thought that was so cool. I think she's so cool, and I thought
she's hip, she's current, she's trendy. I love it, and it brings a new energy to the art form.
And now I feel like doing this, and so I think that's pretty amazing.
We get so tied up in tradition, and this is the way it's done, that we risk and opera especially, I think opera and art music, it risks becoming museum pieces, and that's very dangerous because museum pieces can be easily forgotten. And I think it's like keeping it current and vital and finding ways to keep reinventing, like you said, like Yuzha Wang does a great job of keeping it current and bringing it to people's attention. I think that's so important as we go forward.
Try to make the experience real for the audience. It's something I discovered in doing Dear Eric, it's a jazz opera by Ted Rosenthal. I don't know why. I'm raised in the Episcopal Church, but I've done a lot of work having to do with the Holocaust. I've done a lot of I worked with Elysium Between Two Continents, was a German American organization. I'm doing something with them in the fall. The music of Egon Lustgarten. It's the 60th. The 60th anniversary of his passing. And I had done the first ever performance of an opera he wrote called Dante in Exil. And whatever, it's just one of the other sort of niche things I've done. But when we were doing Dear Eric, which was Ted's father's story. His father is a Holocaust survivor. His father's the only person in his family. He went to the University of Chicago. And what I discovered is the case with Holocaust survivors is that people with survivor guilt, they don't talk about it. So when he passed, they found 200 letters between him and his mother, letters from his mother. And 20 years went by before they had the opportunity to go to Germany and have them translated. And I think Ted had some tendonitis at this point, and he wasn't able to play. And he said, maybe it's the time to write something about this. So he wrote this jazz opera about his father's story. And there I am playing his father on the point of death, dealing with these feelings and doing it in the Holocaust, in the Jewish Heritage Museum, and just trying to make this real, which was, it's, of course, this is way beyond I don't know what this is like, but I cannot tell you how many people who have some sort of connection to this story came up to me and was like, it was so authentic. And that is to me the greatest compliment to receive as an actor, as an artist, was like, I'm just trying not to embarrass myself. It's like I'm up there, I'm playing someone. I mean, it's not the first time I played somebody who dies on stage, but it's like you want to do it in an authentic way. Like I'm singing a line that is this person's last breath. It's like if you want to know in music what morendo is, it's like remember them, keep them alive, keep them. And anyway, I just
capture that moment.
But it's like to me that is the fun of coming together, making new theater, and trying to make it as authentic and moving as possible. I don't know. Every time to me that's the joy of it.
Isn't that what makes musical theater and opera so special? Is that that we take universal human themes and we elevate them. That's what the art form does, and that's what makes it so special. Is through aria and through recits and through all these devices, we can take these feelings that we all feel and make them exalted, make the love, make the tragic, the loss. It's all part of that, and whether it's a modern opera that's done well or whether it's a traditional one, they have such relevance that people don't realize. It's not a museum piece. It relates to today. It relates to tomorrow, because people really don't change. We have the same basic human needs and emotions. I mean, times change and the art changes with it, but we can always find that link to the past if we look.
100%, and that is the fun of it. I mean, I don't know. I will probably cringe when I listen to this later. I'm like, oh my god, it sounds so pretentious. But that is the challenge.
You do not sound pretentious. You sound incredibly humble about your work, and I think you do great work. So I think.
Thank you. But that really is the fun and the satisfaction of it, and it's also it's interesting because I think I'm a pretty fun. Like I'm an easygoing person. Like I really feel like I just saw my doctor. He said, you look as good inside as you do outside. I was like, thank you. I mean, I really do feel happy. And the silver lining of the pandemic, discovering my, inner lounge singer, being like I mean, that's my line is like, I've been doing professional theater for over 40 years, but the most attention I ever got is for singing shits in karaoke on a stoop in Brooklyn.
You never know. It's when it moves people, and it has a life of its own. And I think it's going to take you to places you never dreamed of.
I think so. I hope so.
We'll put it out there. Well, thank you so much to Peter Kendall Clark, the Brownstone Baritone. Be sure to check him out on the Brownstone Baritone on YouTube and his website as well, which is linked in the description of this video. Thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all the best in the months to come.
Thank you to you as well. I want to come see you in the shore.
Hope we get to work together and down the road. It's always great to work with your colleagues, and continued success.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Have a great night.
Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Also, check out our website at www.jasontram.net to see our past 168 episodes. We've got a wonderful array of guests coming up in the future months, including Alessandra Mark and many, many others. So make sure you check that out. Also, on Saturdays from 11:30 a.m. to noon, you can hear us on the radio in New York City on WMCA. That's 102.3 FM, and that's also 570 AM. Thank you so much, and remember, keep music alive.